working on getting this generator out. I've already disconnected the power cables and also the hour meter. And the first thing I did was remove the exhaust pipe. And next I'm going to remove the remote control cable that's coming from the cab of the RV. And then I'll work on the other cables, and the other cables being the positive 12 volt and the negative, or the ground. And then last, I'll remove the fuel line. Okay, all of the cables and the fuel line are disconnected. The next step is to put a jack under it and get it up, and then put some blocks between the generator and the frame, and then maybe get a lift table, drag it onto the lift table and get it out. Okay, I'll position the jack with a block underneath, or between the jack and the generator, and see how it goes. Okay, the latest thing I've done is put I put some 2x6s between the generator and the frame that holds the generator in place. Now the generator is mounted to these skids, and the skids are bolted. But they're mounted to the skid, and the skids are bolted to the RV frame. So now the skids are resting on the 2x6s, and I'm gonna try to pull it out, but before I attempt to do so, I'm gonna go ahead and cut the PVC pipe, maybe jack up the generator a little bit and put the PVC pipe under it, and maybe I can roll it out a little easier. Okay, I have it on the PVC rollers. I have a roller in the front and a roller in the back. She rolled on out. The PVC pipe helped immensely. It's almost like taking candy from a baby. Okay, it's gonna get really interesting when I install the Cummins Onan, because the hookup's on the opposite side, so I've got to run new cable or extended cable, run additional fuel line. I have the old Generac out and in the garage, and it looks like I'm going to be able to use these side mount brackets to mount the Onan. In order for me to do that, I had to tap these holes, or thread those holes. They were already pre-drilled, but they weren't threaded. I started using this tapered tap, but I noticed that I couldn't get the threads as close as I needed to the bottom or to the end of the hole. So I just purchased this bottom tap. It allowed the threads to get close as possible to the end of the hole, and that will allow the generator to be more secure. So as of right now, the threads stop maybe about 3/8 to 1/2 of an inch before the bottom or the end of the hole. And so I'm gonna go ahead and use the new tap. And another thing I had to do too is I had to cut this rectangle in to allow the fuel line, the ground cable access. That's so they won't be, crimped up or impeded. I'm gonna paint the exposed metal black and then run some type of insulating material or grommet-like material around there to kind of remove the abrasive edge. Although it's been sanded, I'm still going to put some type of additional material between the metal and the fuel line and the ground cable. You can see I've already run the new cable or the new wires. That's 2 leads, 2 neutral and ground to the control box. Once I get the generator installed, I'm going to run those wires through this conduit. I have the necessary attachments to make that happen. I'll also install this new positive cable that I had made up, and I had it made up at 9-foot length. That's going to give the generator the ability to not only operate with the cable, but also when I pull the battery box out, it's going to allow the cable to follow the battery box in and out without being too short. I also purchased additional fuel line. I think I got about 9 feet, and I'll cut it as needed, but I'm going to tie it into the fuel line that was used to feed the Generac. Okay, I've painted the cut, and I've started to edge it or align it with some material that's usually put on the edge of doors. I had some extra left over from when I had to edge CRV. So I'm just going to use this material to finish edging this rectangle. All right, I'm about to install this Onan generator. I have my two 2x10s, and I have the first PVC pipe in, and I have the second one ready. I'm actually gonna put it there for right now, and I have the jack underneath. So once I raise the hydraulic table to the right height, I'm going to move the table forward and then push the generator off of the table. Since the tabletop is quite smooth, that shouldn't be too difficult. And then hopefully the generator will roll onto the first pipe, and as it goes further, I'll insert the second pipe in the front and then continue the roll. Unfortunately, I can't record and do this at the same time. Okay, the generator has been bolted in. Next, I'll have to wire it up. That is, put those wires in a conduit, connect the fuel line, the battery cables, and let's see what else. Connect the exhaust, tidy up the lines, make sure they're secured. And I'm gonna put the fuel line and the battery cables in some flexible tube. And one of the things that I decided to do is, instead of using the original 2 white PVC pipe, which one was short and the other was long, I decided to use 2 longer PVC pipe. Both span the full length of the generator. That's so that the weight of the generator is actually on the outer edges of the sidewalls. Otherwise, the weight of the generator would have been on the center of this shorter pipe, and that could have caused some damage to the middle of the generator. Well, why the different colors? Well, I went under the house and I found that gray electrical conduit that I had left over from a house project. And so instead of going back to the hardware store to get some more white pipe, I just decided to use that electrical. I'm gonna have to get a custom built pipe for the generator, and this is my sketch. This is an exhaust pipe I had modified according to the drawings that I showed earlier. As you can see, I've installed the exhaust pipe. What I'm doing now is installing the remote start switch. This is the connector that it's appropriate for the Onan. This is the connector that came off of the Generac. So what I did is I bought a cable from Amazon that had this connector and the appropriate connector that goes to the remote start switch and the hour meter. Now, my hour meter was mounted outside, well, within the generator compartment here. So that's where I'm going to remount the new hour meter. I'm using the existing wire that connected the remote start button that's inside of the RV to the generator. And so basically I just mapped out the wires and used some tape and markers to code them, so I'm certain to have the same mapping inside of the RV. So after I'm done with the connections inside the RV, I'm going to come back here and tidy up these wires by using some flex tube and cable ties. Now, I've already checked out the switch that's inside the RV just to make sure everything operates properly and things are good to go. Okay, so this is what I have going on inside. This is the panel that houses the remote start button. This is the original remote start button. I'm going to leave it there because there's some associated wires that attached to it, as well as this panel to cause it to glow when the lights are turned on. So I'm going to leave it in place. And I had a separate generator prime button for the Generac, and this is it. So I removed that and placed the button that came with the Onan in its place. And this is how the Onan button and hour meter came well mounted within this plate. So I just removed both, and I'm just going to use this position for the start stop prime button, and as I showed you earlier, I'm going to mount the hour meter outside within the generator bay. So I've made all of the appropriate connections here. So now I'm just going to go ahead and put this faceplate down and go back outside and finish up in the back. Okay, the inside is back together with the new switch installed.